down. We the talk around town. Alex threw the ball to Smokey for a touchdown. It's fourth down and you don't really want no more. We've been winning from the door. You should check the scoreboard. Check the scoreboard.
Welcome back to week 6 of the USFL predictions. We got some mixing up going on from the past week that didn't expect. Mostly the Pittsburgh victory, which none of us saw coming. We thought that team might go undefeated, but they eked it out just about, to my horror and surprise, over the Gamblers. So we'll get into that as well. But first of all, Smokey, how you doing?
Oh man, I'm pretty good. Better than Houston Gamblers fans right now, because like you said, they took a loss to the Maulers. Our predictions came out so 50-50. We both got 2 correct. Neither one of us picked the Maulers, obviously. Stallions we both had. You had the Breakers, I had the Generals. The Generals look great.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, I had the Panthers and you had the Bandits, which that was a tough game right there. And it just so happened to go in your favor. So I'm still ahead by 1 point, 13-12 at this point.
Panthers was a lot closer than I would have liked. I really thought there was gonna be a bigger victory, bigger margin of victory there. But it's fine, I'll take it. It's a point. But I gotta still make up one, and I intend to do it this week. And we'll see if we disagree on stuff here. But week 6, first game, we got the Tampa Bay Bandits, as you already mentioned, at your Philadelphia Stars.
Yeah, my Philadelphia Stars. And I wish Brian was out there, because Brian Scott is a much better quarterback than Case Cookus. Case Cookus is not bad. I'll go ahead and start with him. Case Cookus is okay, but he's no Brian Scott. Brian Scott is a pocket quarterback that can actually push the ball downfield. Case Cookus is probably better than Kyle Loletta, maybe even Clayton Thorson, but he's not one of the top QBs in this league. Paul Terry, there's not much of a run game with Darnell Holland being out here. Paul Terry is actually the number 1 receiver, which tells you that Case Cookus is not pushing the ball downfield. He's throwing little slants and out routes and just short passes just to get the ball out of his hands, because he's not much of a running threat, and he's not capable of putting the team on his back. However, he was winning. The team was doing really well against the Stallions, and I thought they were going to get it. But when it came down to it, when the Stallions started coming back, Case Cookus just couldn't put the team on his back and go out there and win one for Philly. On the other side, the Bandits, Jordan Ta'amu is getting good. Like, he's returning to that point that we saw him in the XFL. Had another week with no interceptions, 2 touchdowns. He's doing good. The second running back on the league still. What do they got? Mumphrey out there. Washington, I think, is the lead receiver at this point. He seems to be. Franklin and company, a couple of 50-yard passes downfield. Ta'amu looks good. So that's why I will take Ta'amu to beat my Philadelphia.
Man, I thought this could have already been the one that I got that point on you, because I thought you'd go favoritism. You didn't pick the Bandits against the Panthers, so I thought for sure you weren't going to pick them again. Yeah, I can't go against Jordan Ta'amu like that. I've been waiting for this for a while, because I said basically since week 1, that's one of the headliners, one of the superstars of this league, and it's time he stepped up into that role. And we finally saw him do it against the Michigan Panthers, if only against the Michigan Panthers. But they have a positive record. Bandits are very much in play, and I do believe in Jordan Ta'amu. Like I said, he is their offense. He's their entire team. I will pick them to win. Partly because the Stars, again, a bit of a downtrend. They already played the Stallions, undefeated Stallions, but you said last week that you hope Case Cookus would start, and he did start, but like you already mentioned yourself, he wasn't really convincing, or he's not the caliber quarterback that's going to take a roster elevated to the next level to beat the top teams, especially if not supported by a run game. Jordan Ta'amu makes his own run game. And we know he's the type of quarterback that can carry a team, because he's been carrying this team. So I will absolutely also take the Bandits to advance to 4-2. I thought you picked the Stars, but unfortunately you didn't. Maybe see if you picked the Panthers here at the Birmingham Stallions.
Well, and here I want to clear up. Last week I said I expected Case Cookus to start. I want Brian Scott to start.
Oh,
but
okay.
He's even listed as out so far this week, so I don't expect him to be back this week either. And that's why I went with Tampa Bay, because I don't think Case Cookus. There's a good chance he could win this. I mean, look what they were doing against the Stallions, but with him at quarterback, I'm gonna go with the Bandits because Tamu is better than Case Cookus overall. Michigan Panthers. That was a tough loss. I mean, both of those games were really tough wins and tough losses for all four of those teams. Shea Patterson is showing some improvement. He's looking better and better each week, in my opinion. He's starting to look like, I ain't gonna say the number one overall pick, because you have Jamar Smith and Jordan Tamu and Brian Scott, which these guys should have been over Shea Patterson, of course, but he's looking better. Maybe the Andy Dalton line right now is the Shea Patterson line in the USFL. Reggie Corbin. This passing game is becoming more efficient, but the run game is not, unfortunately. They're not setting the world on fire. I do like that Lance Lenore is back out there and catching passes and making touchdowns. On the other side, you got the Birmingham Stallions. The team is 5-0, and Jamar Smith is back out there. You know what? The team was losing against the Stars with Magoo. I know you like Magoo, but I think Jamar Smith is the better quarterback here. I think I've already said that last week, as a matter of fact. CJ Marable looks like a star. That run game is really flying with Jamar Smith out there as quarterback. Williams, Victor Bolden, and the rest of them, Mitchell and those guys out there. This team still looks unbeatable, especially against a team like the Panthers, so I will take the Stallions.
Yeah, I did like Magoo going into the league. I thought he was going to be possibly the best quarterback. I didn't have Jamar Smith on my radar at all. At this point, I'm very happy with what we have, because both of these are starting caliber quarterbacks, and both of these will be starters on over half the teams in the league, both Alex and Magoo and Jamar Smith. So you can't go too wrong. But yeah, I agree with one thing, that Jamar Smith makes this offense probably even more explosive. This is already an offense that's just full of speed, and that's what makes them so hard to defend. It's just they have speed on every position. Adding Jamar Smith to that, and Alex Magoo can also run, like, in his own right. He's no Jordan Tamu, but he can run the ball. Jamar Smith adds that extra dimension to it, makes it harder to defend. Very good spot, obviously, by Birmingham Stallions, which I decided on before they were the only undefeated team, by the way. So I'm not a bandwagoner. I picked them pretty much from like week 3 or something. So I'll take it. I'll take them to win. Not necessarily a big leap to say they're going to beat the Panthers, and they better beat the Panthers, because the Panthers are 1-4. Stallions to remain undefeated, and 2 weeks from now, if I remember correctly, we'll have the Stallions face off with the Breakers, which should be a big one. But for now, beat the Panthers, take care of business. You said Shea Patterson looked better, and it's true, still not the number one overall pick, but he has been looking respectable. He did play a respectable game. Probably his best game of the season last week. Wasn't enough. Won't be enough this week, but maybe there's hope there for the future. The Pittsburgh Maulers at the New Orleans Breakers.
Man, they finally defeated Maulers. Can't say they're undefeated anymore. They finally defeated someone, and here we are. I think we owe that all to Kyle Loletta not being in this game and Vad Lee taking over. He is obviously better than Loletta, and trust me, I looked on the rosters on the USFL site, and they didn't even have a picture for this guy. So obviously he came out of nowhere. Speaking about not being on the radar like Jamar Smith, yeah, he was not one of the first round quarterbacks pickups either, but I don't know that this guy was a second round, or where they got him, or if he just walked on at some point. I saw that he did play for the Defenders, but didn't start, obviously. But not much of a run game to talk about. Groshak in London, they're not doing it. They are splitting it almost 50-50, but not doing anything, basically. Bailey Gaither looks like the number one receiver at this point. Trey Walker was at some point, but he's still out there doing a lot of work. I think Vad Lee could help get them the ball even more, and they may look better. New Orleans Breakers, Kyle Sloter still looks inefficient. It looks like he's getting worse. It seems to be, maybe it's the opposite of Shea Patterson. When Shea Patterson is bad, Kyle Sloter is good. Now that Shea Patterson's getting better, Kyle Sloter is getting worse. 2 TDs to 2 interceptions. It's not looking good for him right now. Ellis was bad. Jonathan Adams and Johnny Dixon and Poindexter is basically the only offense they have right now. If Sloter can get them the ball, they will be okay. They have no run game to speak of. You know what? I'm going to go out on a limb, and you can probably disagree with me on this one. I'm going to say the Maulers get their second win right here.
Okay. So you're really riding the trend here. I see. All right. I like it. I like the pick. Yeah, I had never heard of Adley until this weekend. Never in my life. 29-year-old quarterback who we checked before the show. Never saw the NFL. Jumped around from kind of secondary league to arena league to Canada to the XFL. Apparently he was on the DC Defenders, which even then we never heard of him. He came on, he had a big game. But you know how I like to talk about quarterbacks you don't know to prepare for are usually a lot more dangerous. That's what we see. Backups that have to step up after an injury in the NFL overperform on average in their first week, or new quarterbacks that get signed overperform in the first week because people don't have film on and they're not prepared for them. So I think that's a little bit of what happened there as well. There's a very good chance he's going to take the starting job over Kalaleta in the long run, especially if he keeps playing the way he has been, and we know Kalaleta has not been playing well. He doesn't have a single win. I can see that happening. Now I will say this though, they beat the Gamblers, which is to me more impressive than to a lot of people because I thought they were better than their record. They're 1-4. They're the same record as the Maulers now. They beat them only by a point, by one single point. And as for the Breakers on the other side, okay, they were considered one of the top 2-3 teams just a couple of weeks ago when they were 3-1. They look fine. We said they have a chance to beat the Birmingham Stallions. I'm not going to be too low on them. Kyle Sloter threw some bad interceptions, not taking any of that away. They still ran the football decently well. The Generals, they lost to Generals. Generals are really good at rushing the passer. The Pittsburgh Maulers are not. The Generals generally control the ball well. The Maulers historically do not. I think maybe they do with Badley, but I'm not trusting one single game for the future. I'll still take the Breakers, and there's our disagreement. I still think they're a better team. Look at their record. Look at the whole body of work we've seen. They had a down game, probably their worst game of the season. Maulers just had their best game of the season. No indication that it should continue that way. I will trust the more known commodity here, as opposed to waiting to see even who starts for Pittsburgh, and is Vadley gonna step up to that plate again the way he did in that one, and he just eked it out by 1 point. If they lost and they'd on 5, we wouldn't have that conversation, and it's just a single point. So I'm gonna pump the brakes a little bit. I'll take the Breakers and hopefully make up that point with that pick. And we have the Gamblers at the Generals to close it out.
Yeah, the team that just took the tough loss right here. This is 1-4 versus 4-1. This is obviously now a bottom of the barrel team. I mean, you lost to a team that hadn't beat anyone, although it does look like they're going in a better trajectory with Badley there. Clayton Thorson just wasn't getting it done. The run game fell short. The passing game fell short. They have a really good receiver in Isaiah Zuber. And Anthony Ratliff is not bad, in my opinion. The running backs, you can say what you will about them. Mark Thompson, Dylan Dawkins, there's nothing special about those guys. So he's going to have to do it from the pocket, Clayton Thorson. And he just couldn't get it done when it came time to. And the Maulers came right there at the end of the game and took over and won. The Generals, on the other hand, 4-1. This is has to be in everybody's power rankings, has to be the second best team in this league. Breakers have fallen, in my opinion, and most people's opinion, I would imagine. Generals look great. They had a really good win. DeAndre Johnson is playing the entire game now over Luis Perez. A very similar quarterback situation to the Stallions with Jamar Smith and Alex Magoo up there. DeAndre Johnson is now basically the starter, and Luis Perez was probably one of maybe the most accurate quarterback in this league when he was playing, and they can get the job done with DeAndre Johnson. They want the running quarterback in there. Darius Victor, Trey Williams, that's a 50-50 split at running back, which a lot of these teams are obviously doing. I made note of that last week, that there's not a lot of superstar running backs in this league, so you'll see committee backfields like that. Kevontae Turpin is the star at wide receiver. He is getting the ball and doing great things with it. DeAndre Johnson is probably the best running back on the team, to tell you the truth. I'm going to pick the Generals here. I think they'll win one on the Gamblers, and the Gamblers are going to fall to last in the entire league.
Because you think the Maulers are going to win too, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it feels like too much of a bold pick even for me to take the Gamblers still, and I've been justifying them a lot, and maybe it's because of still that week 1 game that's in my mind, because they took the Stallions like damn near to overtime. It was a coin toss. It came down to the Stallions are 5-0. They're by far and away the best team in the league. They're dominating, and the Gamblers are now tied for last place. Somehow that still hasn't quite left my mind, and I feel like they are still underrated, which they are. They didn't, by the way, last game they completely deserved to lose, did not play well. If you can't beat Pittsburgh, you didn't run the ball well, you didn't convert well, you deserve to lose, and they underperformed. I can't justify to myself picking them, especially after seeing the Generals beat the Breakers, who I think the Breakers are still a good team. The Generals, like I mentioned already when we talked about New Orleans, they're very good at controlling the ball. They win the time of possession. It feels like every single week, because they run the ball 40 times. It's kind of like the Rams or Niners, if you think in the NFL. They just run the football at will, and they drive down the field. The one thing I don't like in kind of connection to that is their red zone efficiency. Not necessarily the best conversion rates. I think they went into the red zone like 6 or 7 times in this game against the Breakers. They only scored 3 times. So that, to me, a little bit something to work on, but honestly, the Gamblers defense is not going to stop you from driving down the field 6 or 7 times, so it's going to probably happen the exact same way again. They're going to control the time of possession. They're going to force those to throw the ball early, and a team like the Gamblers that generally wants to run, if possible, and establish their own game, that is a problem. If you're getting into that spot, I think they will be getting into that spot, and one of their strengths for the Houston Gamblers, their pass rushing ability, won't really come to the surface that much against a run-heavy team, which they're not necessarily great at defending the run themselves. So I think Generals are going to impose their game onto this a little bit earlier from the start. If they're going to continue to dominate on the ground, they have the game. I think they've got it packed up, and I'm going to pick the Generals. I want to pick the Gamblers, don't get me wrong, because I always want to pick them, because I know that will come this week where they are going to win in dominating fashion against one of the teams in the top half. I know for a fact that'll happen. It could be this week, but at this point, it's too risky to make that pick for me. But I do want to. It's tempting. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to say the Generals. Recently, they've shown more of an inclination to stick to the run game and to be successful with the run game. So therefore, the Generals I will take. But let this be a bold prediction. There will come the week that the Generals, that the Gamblers pull an upset on one of the big teams. Could be this week, and if so, even though I got the pick wrong, I will still boast about it next week. And maybe it'll be next week, or they play the Stars in a couple of weeks as well. Maybe that can be it.
Yeah,
I'm thinking Generals.
I'll say if Brian Scott's back, then probably not the Stars. But with Case Cookers, yes, I can absolutely see that happening.
All right, we'll see. That's next week, actually.
Yeah. I look forward to seeing this Stallions Generals Championship game coming up.
Oh, you think that's what it's gonna be?
Yeah.
You're not giving Jordan Ta'amu any credit here.
Well, you'd have to beat out the Stallions, right? They're both in the South Division.
You do have to beat the Stallions. That's the thing. And to me, the Stallions the Stallions are the best team. I still like the Bandits over the Generals ever so slightly, and that is solely founded on quarterback play and no other reason whatsoever. Which is not always a solid argument, but you see the type of potential that Jordan Ta'amu has in some of these games. Like last week, you think he could win every single game. If he played like that, he's the most dominant player in the league, especially given the position that he plays. That's probably even better than either Alex Magoo or Jamar Smith. Even though both of those it's going to be a quarterback battle no matter what, and those are going to be two quarterbacks stealing the show, a la Mahomes, Josh Allen. Maybe a little bit more ground game there, but I would love to see that for sure. But I guess Stallions Generals is the favorite matchup at the moment. I'm sure if you looked at the bookie numbers, that's what people are going for. But we'll have to see what plays out. Don't write off the Tampa Bay Bandits is what I'm gonna say. They have the best quarterback, the best player. I'll say best quarterback in the league if he plays at his best.
Yeah, I was just looking through the schedule here. And, I was afraid that the Generals and the Stallions were going to play again because that was the first game of the season. But I guess the way they broke it down being in separate divisions, that luckily they're not going to play again until the championship game if they both make it there.
The possible championship game, yep.
Yes, exactly.
Exactly, yeah.
We got some good games coming up, though.
We do have some good games going. It looks like the Stallions have a relatively easy path to me. Not that they should be beating anyone else, but they will play the Tampa Bay Bandits. That's in the last week of the season. By then, they should be fine. But I believe that's going to be that's probably going to be the highlight of the season to close it out. So I'm happy to see that. But yeah, it's definitely shaping up to be Stallions Generals. I'm going to say don't write off the Bandits. Maybe don't even write off the Breakers. On a smaller note. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. To me, right now, I'm good to be a Stallions fan. I'm lifelong Stallions fan.
Oh yeah, it's easy to pick the number one team.
Yeah. I picked them when they weren't, but that's fine.
Well,
I also picked.
To be fair, you picked them when they were like 3-0 or something like that.
Yeah. Well, actually, okay, here's what I did. This is the truth, and you'll remember this. After week 1, I came on and said I'm torn between the Gamblers and the Stallions, and the Gamblers and Stallions played in week 2, and I said I'm gonna let this game decide who I'm picking, and it was the barn burn. It was a great game, like I mentioned, and the Stallions came out on top, and then I picked the Stallions because of that.
Yes, I was thinking it was week 3, but yeah, I'll give you
week
that.
3 are fully committed.
And I was torn between the Stars and the Generals, and because I guess kind of them replacing Luis Perez, maybe go with the Stars. And to be fair, the Stars have a great quarterback. He's just not playing.
He's not playing. So you have that issue with all your teams, like Denver and candidacy, I guess. And if you remember back, by the way, if you remember back to the XFL times, it was speaking of Jordan Ta'amu, who orchestrated the greatest dynasty in modern-day XFL history, the one-year dynasty of the St. Louis Battlehawks as well. I picked that team as well, and I hope they come back. And I'm gonna still be a Battlehawks fan whenever that happens.
I wouldn't mind seeing PJ Walker back in Houston.
I think he'll be happy with a backup job in the NFL, though, right? If he can establish himself as a second string quarterback, he'll probably get paid better than starting in any other league.
Well, as long as the coaching staff from Temple is there, he's in good hands.
Oh yeah, for sure. But Jordan Ta'amu, maybe time to go back to the Battlehawks. If that comes around, I'd love to see that. Continue the dynasty. Win the championship that never happened.
Wonder what their schedule, the XFL schedule, is going to be like. Are they going to play at the same time, as the USFL, or are they going to be like last time where they pick up right after the Super Bowl?
I have no idea. It could be that they kind of chain the NFL, USFL together if they pick up after the Super Bowl, which I would prefer as opposed to them playing parallel to the USFL, just because you get a longer time of, there's always a league up, there's always something to cover, and having to cover XFL and USFL could get a bit confusing sometimes. So I prefer if they were separate. And we know that historically speaking, it's generally not a great idea to play at the same time as another established league. That's what killed the original USFL. I remember that when they moved the games to the NFL time slots. That didn't work out too well. So for the XFL, I think you either start right after the Super Bowl, chain up until the NFL draft, or you could play after the USFL if you want to really play in the summer. The question is that great? There's not a lot of sports going on in that time of year.
Or does it limit your roster? You know,
it doesn't limit your roster.
A lot of practice squad guys are going to be back at the NFL training camps at that time.
Yeah. There's a lot, exactly. Anyone who can get their foot on an NFL team won't be available for that league. So there's a lot to consider. There's a lot there to consider. But it would fill a niche of sports during the summer, which there really is not a lot of.
Yeah. And I can't help but have the fantasy of having the champion of the USFL face the champion of the XFL, kind of like the old AFL, NFL days, you know, and have a Super Bowl of sorts.
I remember that a long time ago, I saw a report by Dave Demishek who suggested that the original USFL should have played the NFL champion, back in the day, because those leagues were much closer in talent than the current day USFL, XFL were to the NFL. You could have realistically had a Super Bowl of Joe Montana versus Steve Young.
Yes, exactly.
Going in that day, and that would have been phenomenal. And that's a way to make a name for yourself as a league. Now you're not going to beat the NFL teams, and it would have been a great showing. To look at the NFL not as much as a rival league, but as a business partner almost, as a collaboration, and have that happen. But they never did that. We're far away from that being a possibility at the moment, because these USFL teams are very much on the level of college teams, and they would get completely crushed into dust by any NFL roster.
I just thought about seeing a game like that with Eric Dickerson on one side and Herschel Walker on the other. That would have been amazing to see also.
All possible. Charles Haley and Reggie White.
Yeah, absolutely.
Could have happened. He didn't do it back then. Maybe in the future, but we'll have to get some star names into the USFL. It's a very different climate now.
Well, the original USFL pumped a ton of money in there, and many more teams also. You know, what did they have? Was it 16 teams in the original?
It might have been 16. Yeah, I think that sounds correct.
Yeah.
They have more teams. They were also spread, right? They were spread across the entire country. This USFL is not. They're very much, they're very southeastern based. With the original USFL teams in Denver, team in LA, so there were a lot more coverage there.
Okay, 18 teams as a matter of fact.
18 even. Okay, yeah, right. So they're definitely starting from a smaller point at the moment, which is fine.
Yeah.
I like it so far. Season's going well. I think the interest is there. There's definitely a lot of potential there from some of these young players and some of the former NFL veterans. The quality's fine. It's not like the AAF where it's really tough to watch because the play just was really bad and the camera work was bad. XFL was promising. The USFL's promising. Hope they both get going even into next year, and then we'll see what happens with that.
I wouldn't be surprised to see the XFL run for a few years, and then The Rock wants to go be president, and he just sells it off to the USFL, and then you have a 16-team league playing there.
You mean president of the United States or president of the league?
Oh, no, I think he's going to be president of the U.S.
Okay, yeah, possibly. Yeah, if that happens, then... You know what? He would be the second person more or less owning a professional football league and then becoming president.
Yeah, exactly.
Because Donald Trump
and a WWE Hall of Famer.
Yeah, the original news. Right. There's a lot of weird parallels going on.
Exactly.
If that happens, that would be wow. Okay, yeah. Now I really do want to see that.
That'd be crazy. Our second president, that's a WWE Hall of Famer and a USFL owner. That's crazy.
Like a secondary football team owner.
Yes.
Yeah, that'll be fun for sure. We'll see how the XFL is coming along, and how that's gonna look. But optimally, both leagues would be going strong, and then we'd have a nice time to bridge that downtime of nothing going on, where you got the combine, the draft, but then there's nothing again. Especially over the summer is probably like between the draft and NFL training camp is probably the worst time.
It is.
For football, and then the NBA Finals finish, Stanley Cup finish. There's nothing going on. Like baseball's not interesting that early on in the year. It is definitely a time slot to fill.
Even if you're watching college, you get the spring game right before the NFL draft, and then absolutely nothing, and until July, you start hearing news out of training camp.
Exactly, and that's there's a time slot there to fill, but we'll see how that develops. We made our picks for the USFL for Week 6. Do you have anything to add to these games?
No, I think that's it for this week.
All right, everybody, thank you for watching. Drop us a like and let us know what you agree with, what you disagree with, and why am I going to make up the point this week? Why is Smokey completely wrong about the Maulers? Please reassure me. I mean, I better make it up. If not, that's gonna be.
Well, I figured I could go out on a limb because I have a point to play with anyway.
True, you do. And then maybe if that happens, you could come back and actually like hype up the Maulers.
Yeah, absolutely.
As you know,
like Pittsburgh needs another dominant team in the city. It's kind of refreshing.
Record is still possible.
Yeah, well, it's kind of refreshing to see them have a losing team for once, you know. With the,
they do.
Penguins in the finals every year. And,
Steelers are usually good.
They did get knocked out a couple days ago by the Rangers. But you know, everybody knows what the Steelers does. And, you know, Pirates. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. They needed a losing team.
I guess.
They got one.
If it continues, maybe they'll turn it around. Winning record still possible, but we'll see. We'll see about that. Let us know your picks. Drop us a like, and we're gonna see you in the next one.
Deuces.
Check the scoreboard.